Hi everyone, we're at the Stagwell Speakers Lounge here at the Cannes Lion Festival, and we're here to talk about creativity, but really importantly, we're talking about creativity with purpose. And ironically, we're in Cannes and it is raining outside, so what a time to have this conversation and this discussion. So I'm here, Jack McCorkell from Activista, here with Boaz Paldi, who is, of course, Chief Creative Officer at UNDP and the force behind bringing Frankie the Dino and Don't Choose Extinction to life. And last but not least, with, of course, Beto Fernandez, co-founder and creative lead of Activista. Gents, here we are.
Wonderful to be here.
Awesome.
Nice to be here. Yeah.
So, we're here to obviously talk about the importance and power and purpose of creativity and context of today, context of this day. We really want to get into why we need creativity to tackle such big, serious topics that affect everyone in the world. Boaz, I'd love to throw to you.
So we need to reach a wide audience. Only together can we solve these issues. Not together, me and you. Together, humanity. Humanity needs to be a community of people that tackle an issue together. The climate emergency that we see in the streets of Cannes today, because it's raining, it never rains in Cannes, is here, it's now, and it needs really, really urgent action. But the only way that we can inspire urgent action is by actually talking to people. The problem is that most of the issues around climate change are complex, they're dense, and they're scary. So we have to find another way of talking to people that won't scare them off, won't make them think that they can't take action, make them empowered to take action in a very, very simple and easy way. And that's where kind of the power of creativity is pivotal. Because, we, the United Nations, hardly speak English. We speak UNEs, and we have really complex issues that we deal with, and they're not easy to explain. And so we need a way to translate UNEs into everyday language and make it so simple that people can get on board.
That's great, and I think exactly on that, when we think about issues today, we are inundated with issues. It is constant, right? And if it's not one thing, it's the other thing. And people are just to the point where, frankly, and I'm sure we all feel this, it's exhausting, right? And so, Beto, to cut through and get people to not just see, but listen, talk us through the process.
I mean, we have to always start understanding how people behave out there. And the problem is, as you said, people already see the tragedies on the news. And if we just go with that angle, people are going to block to the message. But then let's try to think in the things that they like, and let's use something they like to do. So everybody loves culture, everybody loves movies, content. So if you turn that message into something that is something they already love to do, that is much easier to galvanize a lot of people around the idea. So that's why and also we need to find a way to simplify everything that you're saying and turn it into something that is very easy to anybody, no matter your age, to understand. So we start with this idea: what if an outsider comes to the planet Earth and see what we're doing here? Because we are doing this mess, but we are inside it, and very often we don't see what's going on. So somebody from the outside come and look and, hey, you guys are paying to kill yourself. And that's where the idea came about. And then we thought, wow, who could be the best outsider you can invite? And we thought, let's bring somebody that knows a thing or two about extinction. So let's bring a dinosaur, because he knows how to talk about that. And then that's where we come with this idea of Don't Choose Extinction, and a dinosaur that is telling, hey, I had an asteroid. What's your excuse? You are paying for a giant meteor to come and to kill all of us in the planet Earth. So that's very easy to understand, this metaphor, that no matter your age or which country you're from, you can really understand. And then people react to this not as a sustainability or climate change message. They react to this as a Hollywood film thing. They see as a trailer, and they share it with their friends in schools, just like you share Maverick or Jurassic Park franchise. You just love it and you talk about it. And by doing that, you're provoking the change that's necessary.
It's great, and let's talk a little bit about the sharing, because it's been seen by just a couple of people, right?
That's right. Maybe 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, and so with that, obviously it wasn't just one language, right? We speak UNEs. So
Absolutely.
Boaz would love to talk through exactly how we spread to all the different markets.
Absolutely. So 1.8 billion views to date of the film, and that's
Not
views.
not the global impressions, is views.
That's actual views.
Amazing.
And so, from the very, very beginning, we understood that we needed to make this applicable to in every context, in every continent, in every country, in every region, for every gender, for every age, because we needed to talk to as many people as possible. So, like in the movies, we decided that we were going to dub the dinosaur into different languages, not have subtitles, but actually have a voice of a dinosaur in different languages. And that's what we did. We translated the dinosaur into 53 languages, mostly using UNDP's country offices around the world, our offices in various places, who they took it on themselves and they ran with it, and they found national celebrities, national influencers to do the voice. For instance, in Brazil, there's like an incredible samba singer that we
Milton
have,
Nascimento.
and we have him voicing the dinosaur, and he does an incredible job. Aissa Mega is the French voice of the dinosaur. Nicolai Costa-Waldau is the Danish voice of the dinosaur. Eiza Gonzalez is the Spanish voice of the dinosaur. So all these incredible people lent their voices to the dinosaur across the world. One of my favorites is a news anchor in Kenya. And she is extremely famous in the Kenyan context because she's on the nightly news every day. Everyone knows her. And she did the voice of the dinosaur. And that made the dinosaur in Kenya go viral. And so we really kind of like maximize the potential for us to be able to plug and play it in every market, essentially.
It's amazing. It's also amazing when you bring good people with a shared common goal, right? And a good cause together, what impact that can drive. But I think it's also a really important thing to drive. Well, it's great that we've had such amazing reach and awareness around this issue, but it's still such a complicated issue, and a complicated issue to change and solve. It is, I think you were saying, when, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the process that led to this being the focus, because it's obviously unique for the UN and UNDP to go focused in on a singular issue. I'd love to just know a little bit more about that.
So in January 2020, I had a meeting in an office retreat. I was sitting at a table with the head of our nature, climate, and energy team. He's a big boss at the UN. And I said to him, if you had one thing that you absolutely needed to talk about now that has to do with climate, what would that be? And he would, without hesitation, said fossil fuel subsidy reform. And I said, what?
What is that?
And then I put out my phone and I kind of did a Google search. Didn't find very much. Kind of nodded and pretended that I knew what he was talking about, and kept listening. And then as the conversation progressed, I realized that governments are paying $423 billion, or last year they paid $423 billion of our tax dollars into fossil fuel subsidies. These subsidies support the manufacturing, the extraction of fossil fuels. They go to the producers, or 80% of them go to the producers. That means that we are paying to extract and manufacture fossil fuels that are killing the planet. That's the absurdity of it. That's why the dinosaur said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And so we have this pot of money that's $423 billion. This year, because of the war in Ukraine and the rising fuel prices, it's going to be closer to $800 billion.
Wow.
In a negative deficit. So anything that we do positive in climate change still has a negative deficit of $423 billion. It skews the economy. It makes fossil fuels seem less expensive than they actually are, and renewables seem much more expensive than they are. But the problem again is that it's a dense issue. I didn't know about it, and I'm an informed person about the whole climate situation, and I had no idea. So how are we going to cut through? How are we going to cut through all the noise that we mentioned? How are we going to get it to the masses? How are we going to have it play everywhere? And that's the thing. It's a really complex issue. It's really difficult, and it's completely. I mean, as you know, almost no one knows about it.
And the difficulty on talking about fossil fuel subsidies is almost like by design, because they help the enemy. Because since this is a hard topic, so our whole industry, when they talk about sustainability, they go to the easy goals, just like a recycling or plastic or electric cars. They find ideas around that. Those things are important, but they reflect like a 2-3% of the problem. Whereas fossil fuel subsidies and things like that reflects like a more than 60% of the problem. Just on the pandemic,
wow.
Nobody was using cars, nobody was flying. Like a lot of things that you could say, hey, let's do that for the planet. We did that because of the disease, but we did it. and the impact on the planet was like a 2%. Nothing really changed. So so the difficulty on talking about fossil fuel subsidies really helps the villains, the big players that we have to tackle. And that's why it's so important to talk about this here in Cannes, because against big power, you have to join the efforts of big power as well. Like the big industry, the award shows, the big brands, they have to put a lot of effort to become a big power to fight against this kind of systemic problem that we're living in and is killing our planet.
I think they're both great points, which leads to, I guess, what would be the final question of, for you, Boaz, what can we do, everyday people do, to really help shine a light on the issue for different governments around the world? And then Beto, the follow-up to that is, what can we as an industry do to make sure that we are pushing conversations in the right places and in the right spaces with not just our companies, but also our partners and beyond?
I would say take climate action now, today. As soon as you finish seeing this video, take one climate action. Tomorrow, take another climate action. And when I say take a climate action, it could be anything. You know, you could change your light bulb to a long-lasting light bulb. You could stop eating steak and only eat salad. Those are things that are, as Beto says, they're part of the problem, but they're not the main part of the problem. What there really is be informed. Be informed so you can have impact. Because there is governments that support climate action. There are governments that don't. You know, be informed of what your choices are when you're choosing your leadership. Try and get engaged to that leadership. Try and make shine a light on what needs to be done. We all know what the problem is. We just need to get it done. We need to get it done quickly and together. We have, for the campaign, we built a digital ecosystem behind the campaign. It's called don'tchooseextinction.com, bizarrely enough. And you can go there. There you can sign up to a collective intelligence called Global Mind Pool. And there you can take surveys that will inform policymakers directly of how you feel, what can work, what can't work. And we've seen this happen in the last few months as we've progressed with this campaign, that we're having real impact with real people. But really my call to action here is just to take any action that you can. Any action is okay. If you just want to share the video, fine, share the video. Maybe tomorrow you'll come back and do something else, but start taking climate action.
Amazing.
Yeah, on our industry, I would use the same thing about like information. Is if you want to talk about like sustainability and climate change, just engage in really understanding deeply what's going on and what kind of solutions you can bring, because very often like half the way solutions are not really helping, because they're creating a lot of a conversation about something that's not what it needs to be done to change. So imagine a planet like when the advertising, like the agencies, they commit to be like I'm an agent that I don't collaborate with like a fossil fuel companies. Or imagine award shows that say if you work with fossil fuel industries, you cannot enter on this award show. Imagine like brands that like in a pitch process we're selecting agents that we're going to compete, say I don't accept any agent that collaborate with fossil fuel industries. So this is using the power that we have in our industry to help as well. And I'm not saying that we need to do necessarily that, but this just to go like to say we need to do real things, because the problem is really hitting hard on us. And let's an idea to like another turtle dying of plastic with an amazing visual in Cannes is beautiful, it's nice, but like the impact on the real thing is minimal. So I guess the key thing I would say is when you work for real causes like sustainability, don't judge the ideas by the idea. Judge the ideas by the impact that idea can provoke. So the idea, I don't care if it's brilliant or not, just think, what's the impact, what the change, real change that this idea had provoked. And that's how we should judge ourselves and the award shows as well. Like that should be the criteria that should start having from now on.
It's compelling stuff. Very compelling. Well, thank you both for coming
Thank you.
out. Such a joy being here. Amazing conversation. Such a critical, not just important, but urgent issue. And I think that climate action and applying the pressures in the right places and spaces is the only way to get change, so that next year, hopefully when we're doing this again, we're seeing work like that. And more than just seeing work like that, we're seeing those conversations being had with the right people and people being held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, just a final point on that is, I remember that one of the best moments in my career is when Boaz called us and told us, hey, we did it. Our campaign forced COP26 to talk about fossil fuel subsidies for the first time in history. they never done before, because the lobbyists always find a way to the conversation to don't go to the end. And on the final agreement, for the very first time, they have a final agreement committing to decrease the fossil fuel subsidies. So this is a thing that now every country in the planet have to start taking actions, and the campaign was a key element of that. So that's the impact that I'm talking about.
Amazing, amazing. Well, team, thank you so much. Great being here. Thank you, Stagwell. It's great being here in the Speakers Lounge. That's a wrap.